Health officials in the Gaza Strip say the death toll from the 14-month war between Israel and Hamas militants has topped 45,000 people. The ministry has said that the real toll is higher because thousands of bodies are still buried under rubble or in areas that medics cannot access. However, a new report from the Henry Jackson Society, a think tank based in the UK, is calling those numbers into question and has recently published a report highlighting how these figures may in fact be significantly inflated. Andrew Fox, author of the report and senior fellow with the group, joined us to explain the discrepancy.
It's exceptionally difficult to break down these lists without full access to the Palestinian population registry, without actually going to Gaza and seeing bodies yourselves. It's deliberately exceptionally difficult to dig through this stuff. We have found some anomalies which I think show that these reports are deeply unreliable. And whether those mistakes are in there deliberately, whether they're there because it's chaotic recording bodies in a war zone, either way, they're unreliable. And it's deeply disappointing that the world's media has seized on these figures and publishes them with so little qualification. So the first kind of thing that we found is looking at misrecording of ages and names. We found plenty of men, Mohammed's listed as women. We found where the age has been missing. They've been recorded as a blank and counted as a zero, so they've been recorded as babies. So we found one instance where a 1-year-old suddenly became a 31-year-old man on later lists. Clearly, Hamas's strategy has been to maximize the emphasis on women and children being killed, which of course happens in every war zone and is one of the tragic horrors of war. But by boosting those numbers of women and children, they're being potentially disingenuous or just potentially incompetent. And as I said, either way, it means that these are really unreliable statistics. The next thing we looked at was the methodologies, and they're terrible. I understand that the computer system went down and they've had to record everything by hand. But the disparity between the government media office, the self-reporting forms, and the Ministry of Health is staggering. And the really interesting thing we found is that when you actually look at percentages of people that have been killed by gender and by age, and then look at what proportion of pre-war numbers those represent, it's overwhelmingly men who are being killed. So 42% through the hospital deaths, 62% by family notification, and the Judicial Committee, 53%. So when we take 26% as our starting figure of men, we're almost in every respect double what we would expect it to be if Israel was targeting indiscriminately. And so I think we can fairly safely say that Israel is targeting combatants rather than indiscriminately bombing civilian areas. And I don't think it matters actually that of course some of those men will be non-combatants. The key point is that it doesn't represent what an indiscriminate bombing campaign would look like.